This is CNN Breaking News.
Hello to our viewers here in the U.S. and around the world. I'm Natalie Allen, live from Atlanta. Our breaking news: Riot police in the Catalonia region of Spain have been restricting residents from voting in a controversial independence referendum. Clashes broke out in the northern city of Girona Sunday morning. Police were physically preventing voters from entering at least one polling station. Spain's highest court says this vote is illegal and unconstitutional, and the government vowed to shut it down. Police then broke windows and padlocks on a door to get into the building. Spain's interior minister tweeted that national police have seized ballot boxes from some polling stations. But the Catalonian president was able to cast his vote later in a town near Girona. CNN's Isa Suarez joins us live from a polling station in Barcelona. And Isa, you've been telling us that some people there are able to cast their vote.
Absolutely. Good morning to you, Natalie. The polling station behind me, which is a school that has been occupied for the past 2 days, so to make sure that people can vote, people are going in and voting. But they're doing it 10 at a time to try and control the numbers. The elderly have been going in first. There are many people being here since 5 o'clock or so in the morning, in the rain, waiting to cast their vote. A vote, they said, is their democratic right. Of course, the Spanish government has been saying all along that this referendum is a sham, saying that it's unconstitutional and is illegal. But as you were mentioning there, we have seen the Guardia Civil, that state police, really breaking down the windows and dragging some people from Girona. And this is in Barcelona, and where the president of Catalonia, Carles Puigdemont, was expected to vote. But he voted elsewhere, we have been told. We've seen images of him voting. We've also seen several other politicians from the Catalan government voting as well. Here where we are, we saw one of the ministers of the Catalan government coming earlier to vote, and when he left, he was greeted by applause. There was some technical hitches, let's say, Natalie, about an hour or so ago, when the system that verifies your identity in order to vote, that was frozen. Officials then came out, representatives of the vote came out and told people to stay away from their phones while they tried to refresh the system. But we've been told that's now up and running, and people have been going in, people have been queuing in the rain. I can tell you this queue snakes right around the corner and waiting to vote. That might not be the case in other polling stations, but what we have been hearing is in social media is that if you can't vote in one, you can vote in others. And this is something the governor has been saying in the early hours of this morning. You can vote in any station, polling station, in case some are closed. 73%, says the minister, one of the ministers of the Catalan government, 73% of polling stations are open, he said, as of about an hour or so ago, Natalie.
That's good news for the people that have been waiting forever. There was such a festive atmosphere right before that polling station where you are, Isa, was open, and the people had to be demoralized there just for a moment when they weren't sure whether they were going to be able to cast their vote. Do you think there was surprise at the heavy-handedness to try and shut this down across Catalonia?
You know, in the last week or so, many people here have been surprised by the way the central government has handled this. At least that's what they've been telling me. But it's important to point out that not everyone here in Catalonia agrees with the referendum. The last poll conducted by the Catalan government back in July said that 49% didn't want independence, 41% wanted independence, but crucially, Natalie, 70% wanted to have their say. And as I was speaking to the guest you heard in the last hour from La Vanguardia newspaper, he was basically making the point that perhaps those more moderate Catalans who did not have a need or desire to vote for independence, given the heavy-handedness by police, he said that has probably shifted some of the argument and convinced some of them to vote for the separatist cause. Natalie?
Suarez, we thank you for your reporting there during this tumultuous time. Emily Eklund is a lecturer of Spanish and international politics at King's College London. She joins us now from London to talk about this. First, I want to get your reaction, Emily, to what we're seeing as Isa just reported, over 70%, as Isa Suarez was reporting. there are 70% that are open. There are people getting to vote, but Spain has certainly showed that it is cracking down and trying to prevent some of this voting from taking place.
Well, I think what is remarkable is really the absence of dialogue in this process. As was reported before, we can see that the Spanish government has responded quite fiercely against this referendum. And as a result, we have over the last week seen that actually a lot of people want to have this referendum, regardless of whether they are pro or against independence. And I think that has really been the surprising factor in the government's response. Also, they've been sending in the national police in order to make sure that the referendum would not take place. And as we've seen this morning, the regional police force have been refraining from going into polling stations and shutting them down, leaving that to the national police, which are then authorized to go in with, I would say, stronger force than the regional police.
Polls showing that 49% would not support independence, 41% yes. Why is this vote, the symbolism of this vote, so important?
Well, it's been important for many, many years. This is not something that has just happened over the past couple of weeks, but since the democratic transition in Spain in the late 70s and since the writing of the Constitution in 1978, we've really seen that there has been a tension between the nationalities in Spain, so that would be not only Catalonia, but also the Basque Country and Galicia, that they were not granted the level of autonomy in the Constitution that they were looking for after 40 years of oppression under the Francoist dictatorship. Now, of course, the Constitution was intended to unify a very, very divided Spain at the time, but you must perhaps consider that this is 40 years ago, and would there be possibilities to reevaluate that setup between the central Spanish state and the regional autonomies?
What has the government done, Emmy, to try to thwart this situation, to try to, as you say, for a while, their autonomy was lessened, and then it came back. They tried to vote again in 2006. Is there more the Spanish government has done to help them feel like they have more autonomy and a little more freedom without it coming to something like this?
Well, I mean, we've had an increase of autonomy since the transition, democratic transition, but it's not the same as independence. And there has also been quite a few disputes between the regional government and the central government with regards to education, with regards to the role of the Catalan language, how much is Catalan language promoted in the region. And the central government has resisted these markers of national identity out of fear of, obviously, of a breakup of the Spanish state. Now, and especially, I would say, the conservative government that is now in place has been very much against Catalonian independence and Catalonian autonomy, much because it emanates from a strong tradition in Spain which actually dates back to the dictatorship itself, that the right wants a unified Spain. They want a whole Spain, and they do not really respect the regional autonomies.
Last quick question. Is there a workable solution? Is there something that can be resolved? What if this vote takes place? They declare most people voted for independence. What then?
Well, that is a really interesting question. I do not have the answer to that question. What I would say is that it could go two ways. We could see perhaps more resistance from the Spanish government revoking autonomies that have been granted to Catalonia, or we could perhaps see a beginning of a dialogue, which would be preferable, in my opinion, and I think would be preferable in the eyes of the international community if there could be a peaceful solution to this problem. This always depends on what happens today. Will the yes side win? How many people will be able to vote? And I think that really sets up the conditions tomorrow for the possibilities for negotiation.
We thank you for helping us understand the situation. Emmy Eklund. Thanks, Emmy.
Thank you very much.